All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Again, my name is Dan Hendricks. If you're watching this on YouTube, I recommend checking out my website here, www.danceofthecosmos.com. So anyhow, now this is part 2 of a series I'm doing on karma, fate, free will, and astrology. And in this video, I know that I said in the first video that we'd look at how to deal with karma in the second video, but the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I was like, no, well, I should do that video a little bit later on in the series. So I've kind of reshuffled everything. So this is video 2, and now we're going to be looking at karma and the causal body. Karma and the causal body. So now let's get right into it. I got a couple slides here to show you. So anyhow, so this right here is a representation. So let me just real quick preface what material, where the source of this material is. So in 2014, I did my yoga teacher training at Mount Madonna Center, which is an ashram, which is in the mountains overlooking Santa Cruz, California. And Mount Madonna Center is founded and ran by Baba Hari Das, who is the guru there. Unfortunately, when I went there, he was 91 at the time and had had a stroke the year prior, so he wasn't around for all the new yoga teacher training programs, unfortunately. But this is material that is sourced directly from him, from his understanding of everything, and then that was taught to his disciples, which is how I heard about it. And so I have my understanding of it. So anyways, so this is all about the subtle body theory. And so what subtle body theory, one of the ways to look at subtle body theory is that there's what are called 5 koshas or 5 sheaths. You'll see here on this diagram, the way that this works is like this right here is considered the food sheath, which is and also you will see up here, let me scroll down here, this is the gross body right here. And you'll see like this is our physical form. And then it gets more subtle as you go down between the pranamaya kosha, which is the vital sheath, which is like our energy sheath, like it says right here, the manomaya kosha, which is like manas, like our mind. And then you have the vijnana maya kosha, which is like the intellect sheath. And these 3 sheaths represent the shukshma shira, which is the subtle body. This is also where you would find the all the nadis, as well as the chakras system that we are familiar with, that would all be considered in the subtle body. And then finally, at the core of all of this is the Karana Sharira, which houses the Anandamaya Kosha. This is the causal body, this is called the blissful sheath, like the core of our being, which is like this pure bliss, which is something to be experienced, even though I'm talking about it here in an intellectual matter. I haven't experienced that yet in my own consciousness, but this is how I've learned about it. I've heard it through other yogic teachings. So anyhow, and what you'll see here is you'll see that like the way the sheaths themselves work is that they're all subtle. So it's like you have the most subtle, which is the Anandamaya Kosha. Then on top of that, you have the intellect sheath. On top of that is the mental sheath. On top of that is the vital sheath. And then on top of all that is the food sheath. So it's like each sheath is another layer around our soul. Now, what I was always, what I never quite understood when I heard about this information at first was, what is this Karana Sharira? What is this causal body? So down here, I'll scroll down the bottom of the page here. And it says here there are 3 main bodies: the Karana Sharira, the causal body, the subtle body, and the gross body, like we just talked about. And it says here in the Karana Sharira, the 3 main energies of creation are in dormant form. The 3 main energies of creation are in dormant form. And that's in the causal body. So everything is in the dormant form, right? All the energies of creation. And then in the subtle body, the energies of creation become active and initiate the forming of the subtle energies of the subtle body. So here we have in the causal body, the energies are lying dormant, the energies of creation, and then the energies of creation are becoming active and initiating, and that's going to be based on what's here in the causal body. And then finally, in the Sthula Sharira, which is the gross body, we get that's where everything is held. That's where all the subtle body energies are held at. So that's like the physical form, basically. So I was always confused. I'm like, what is this Karana Shrira? What is this causal body? What is this word causal? What does this mean? And now if you're following where I'm going with this from what we talked about in the first video, where we talked about the 4 categories of karma. Now, in the 4 categories of karma, the first category was that of Sanchita karma. Sanchita karma is the all of our karmas, the totality of all the karmas that our soul is going to come into manifestation to experience. So, with that being said, that sounds really interesting, because then the next category is the Prarabdha karma, which states that it's just like the strands, the individual karmas that we will experience this lifetime, but these individuals, Prarabdha karma is just one portion of the totality of the Sanchita karma. So, now bringing this into the causal body here, before I go any further there, I was always confused by that term causal, so I broke it down. Causal, what's causal? What's the root word here? Well, the root word is cause, and I googled cause and came up with this definition, and it's perfect for our investigation into karma. It says here, cause is a person or thing that gives rise to an action, phenomenon, or condition. Think about this. I'm going to read it again. A person or thing that gives rise to an action, phenomenon, or condition. If you remember what I said in the first video, a very loose and popular translation of the word karma is that of action. So here we see cause being a person or thing that gives rise to an action, phenomenon, or condition. And I talked about karma in the first video as those actions, the things that happen to us, which is also a phenomenon, the phenomenon of our reality. And then there's also the condition, which is the experience of our reality. Very interesting here, because I think this is a very good indication of that. So now with that being said, let's go back here, and I want to talk about something else. So when we're talking about this causal body, the 3 main energies of creation and dormant form, well, geez, that sounds a lot like Sanchita karma. Because Sanchita karma is something that exists in like a dormant form, because it represents like the canopy of all the karmas that we will experience. And so, but we don't experience Sanchita karma. We experience Prarabdha karma, which is the karmas that we're going to experience in this manifestation. And then here's the other thing that I have heard, and unfortunately, I don't have a source to quote this from, is that I have heard that the soul is encased in its karmas. So, and this is really interesting, and this makes a lot of sense. So the soul itself, the Anandamaya kosha, the blissful sheath, the causal body. So here's the causal body. And the causal body, which would mean that the causal body would include like the soul, the individual, the I-ness of who we are, that form of I-ness, that separation from that greater spirit that we would call God or consciousness or the universe or whatever you prefer to call it. So anyways, so here we have like the soul, but the soul is encased in its karma. And that makes a lot of sense, because if we call this the causal body, the thing that, so again, talking about cause, what was cause again? A person or thing that gives rise to an action, phenomenon, or condition. And then when we talk about Karana Shrira right here, it says the 3 main energies of creation are dormant at the form of Anandamaya kosha. So imagine that would be like our Sanchita karma, all the karmas that are going to bring us forward into manifestation in our lifetimes. So it's sitting there, it's around our soul, it's encasing our soul. And then when we talk about the Shukshma Shrira, the energies of creation become active and initiate the forming of the 17 subtle energies of the subtle body. So this is this is forming out of that karma. It is karma that is bringing that into manifestation. So it's coming from that. So to me, I look at Shukshma Shrira the subtle body almost these aren't exact, but I'll just say it almost as that of prabdha karma. So it's like, so here we have sanchita karma in the Karana Shrira, the causal body. Then we have the subtle body, which is formed from the causal body. And it's formed there because we have our karmas. So which karmas do we experience when we start forming, which is the energies of creation becoming active? Well, that is based upon our sanchita karma. And prabdha karma is just that. And so, and then that forms the gross body, which is the physical manifestation, the ultimate creation of what is going on. So I thought this was a kind of an interesting thing to dive a little bit deeper into. That we have, you know, that karma is housed in the causal body. And that's kind of, and then it comes into manifestation through the subtle body and the gross body. And so the way that I envision this, how this happens is, let's say maybe we have this Rananu Bandhana, we have this debt and bondage to a karma to have an unhealthy body. Well, so let's say that's one of the main prabdha karmas that we're going to experience this lifetime. Well, so we have that housed here in the Karana Shrira. We have that sanchita karma. We have that, and so then it starts creating the prabdha karma of the lifetime, right? So it's going to make a body based on this karma that is held in it, of having this body that has a lot of health struggles. So it's going to create a body with these imperfections that is right there on the subtle body, because that's what the prabdha karma is. And then it fully forms that when it comes to the level of the gross body. So that's one way I think maybe it could be envisioned as how this is happening. But again, actually, not necessarily again, I want to state this right now, and I probably should have stated this at the front. These are my ideas, and these are just intellectual ideas that I have of how this all works together. And I'm just using the material that I have at my usage, which this came right from my yoga teacher training binder, and how this can relate to karma. Because I have had this idea of like, oh, aha, the causal body, karma is something that's causing. Because what I did is I saw it somewhere, or I read it, or I heard it, that karma encases the soul. And I was like, oh, wow. So that's why we call it the causal body, because that's what is springing forth everything. It's that sanchita karma and the prabdha karma coming out of which indicates what we are experiencing this lifetime is going to be all about. So, again, these are just my ideas. These are intellectual ideas. These are not, this does not come from Baba Hari Das himself. This material does. But this idea of causal body, I'm not a representation of him or his knowledge. I'm a disciple of his disciples. And, of course, I am a disciple of Baba Hari Das, but this is not his words. I just wanted to be clear with that. And so these are just me as a guy bringing this stuff forward. I think it's interesting, and I think it's vital to our discussion of karma moving forward, to see that karma is linked to the causal body, to causation, the reasons why things happen, especially when we talk about Rananu Bandhana, which is debt and bondage, to events that make them have to occur, and that's why we experience these things. But anyhow, thank you for watching. I hope this helps with your understanding. I know it has helped with my understanding. And namaste.